Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Veronica Hardy versus Eduarda Moura. And Eduardo's nickname is Ronda, or maybe Honda, because she's Brazilian. But it's kind of funny, right? Like how you could take a name like Ronda, right?
Yeah.
And then the Portuguese, the R is
Right,
the
it's
H
Honda.
sound, and you're Honda, but you're in America, and you see Honda cars driving around. It's kind of like a funny thing,
Yeah.
like inside your mind.
Yeah. So what is Ronda supposed to be?
I don't know.
Some Brazilian.
I maybe she's named after Ronda Rousey. Like that's her nickname, Ronda. I don't know. Maybe if you look at her as an MMA fighter, that's probably most likely why her name is Ronda. Her
Right,
nickname
okay,
is Ronda.
okay.
Because she fights like Ronda or Honda Housey.
Honda Housey.
Exactly. So like if you've ever had like
I don't
friends
think she
that
does,
speak
but anyway.
Portuguese or Brazilian friends, then you're used to it because they do it all the time
Yeah.
when you talk to them.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's start with Veronica Hardy.
'Kay.
Formerly Veronica, I forgot. She was the reason why she's Hardy because she's married to Dan Hardy.
Yeah.
Not Tom Hardy, the actor. Some people are confusing this.
Tom Hardy
You
is
know,
a babe.
Veronica Hardy, man, she's had a career resurgence. You know what I mean? Like she got into the UFC real early in her career. You know what I mean? She had a few wins outside the UFC. Came into UFC, had a rough time. Just kind of like she had a lot of canceled fights. You know, and when she did fight, she didn't really perform that well. She had some medical issues, and then she took a couple years off, came back better than ever. Now she's on a 3-fight win streak. And she's looking pretty good, you know what I mean? And she's going to the decision every single time, which allows her, because all the time that she had away from the cage, she's kind of making it up by fighting, all the way through every fight. It's not like her choice. Obviously, she wants to get the finish. But
Yeah,
if you're
but-
fighting for 15 minutes.
But she's racking up some XP
Exactly.
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And she's, she has some good wins, especially her last win against JJ Aldrich. She's like been in the UFC forever. She's beaten some good girls, and she's not an easy fight for anybody. She's knocked some contenders off.
Yeah. No, that
during
was a
her-
good fight.
Yeah. So
For sure.
that's Veronica, right? Now let's go to her opponent, who is, older actually.
Older, is she
Yeah,
really? But she
yeah.
is a newcomer to the UFC,
Newcomer
right?
to the UFC, but older. She's 1 year older than Veronica Hardy. Like I said, Veronica Hardy came into the UFC very young.
Right, yeah.
Right. So you got Eduarda. She is 1-1 in the UFC. She got her contract on the Contender Series with the first round rear naked choke. Then she made her debut, missed weight, and got the
Oopsie.
second round finish. Came back in her second fight against Denise Gomes, who recently just fought last weekend against Carolina.
Yep.
And she missed weight on that one, and then she lost that fight, right? So when you miss weight and you lose, that's a terrible combination. So
Yeah.
she's moving up to flyweight. I don't know if she's been so she fought at flyweight before the UFC. So
Okay.
most likely, like sometimes you see in some fighters when they debut, they fight at a certain weight class, so they don't have to cut as much weight
Right.
in the regional scene, and then when you
Right.
get to the UFC, they fight at like
Yeah.
For example, like let's say some girls will fight at like flyweight, but actually.
But actually, they're straw weights. Yeah.
so-
Yeah. By UFC standards,
Yeah.
they're straw weights. Yeah. And I mean, if you miss weight twice in a row as well, she probably got somewhat of a talking to be like, okay, maybe this isn't your weight class. I mean, she looked significantly bigger than Denise Gomes that last fight. So, it'll be interesting to see her at this weight, at her natural fighting weight.
With that,
Yeah.
she looked really big against Denise Gomes because Denise Gomes is a strawweight, right?
Yeah.
And then Moura was coming down to strawweight.
Yeah.
And she missed weight.
Yeah.
She's much bigger. But the thing is also like Veronica Hardy, she's not that big of a flyweight herself.
No,
'cause
yeah,
if you
she's-
see in her fights, she looks really small
Yeah.
compared to her opponents, right? So it might even out, right? It might even out. They might be the same size. I asked Veronica Hardy that, about like being a flyweight. Do you think a lot of straw weights are actually flyweights that just cut way more weight? And she said no. She says the straw weight, you could tell a huge difference between. What do you think?
I mean, I certainly notice when in terms of myself, like I used to think that I would be a flyweight, and now that I've met many flyweight women, I'm like there's absolutely no way that I could be a flyweight, you know? I'm definitely a bantamweight through and through, and I think I can really, through experience and through seeing a bunch of different fighters and meeting a bunch of different girls, like there is a difference. Even though it's only 10 pounds, you can really tell like who's a straw weight, who's a flyweight, and who's a bantamweight. I had that issue way back when where, I had a, wait, maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah, no, definitely can see the difference in weight classes, and like you can see it so much so in the UFC as well. Yeah.
When you look at Eduarda, right? She
Yeah.
has a lot of her first what is it? First like 6 fights are all first round finishes, and a lot of them are, actually her first 4 fights are first round finishes. She has a decision, and then she has a couple more first round. A lot of rear naked choke finishes. So she likes to go to the ground.
She's heavy on the grappling.
Yeah, she's heavy in the grappling. Veronica Hardy, more of a striker. If you've watched her last 3 fights since she's came back, she's done a lot of her work in the striking, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what she's gonna probably do the same thing. I feel like she's found a recipe to beat a lot of the girls, and I feel like she just makes a little bit of tweaks, and it's just she's gonna try to implement that, defend the wrestling, defend the clinching, and strike with Moura, right?
Yeah, she's definitely fine-tuned her striking over these last few fights, since her little hiatus. I feel like having someone as well like Dan Hardy, who's just so good at like nitpicking fighters, and like he's so knowledgeable, and to have someone like that. I'm not sure how long they've been in a relationship for, but I know that they got married in 2022, and then I saw the correlation of like her and her success, from that. I'm not saying it's entirely him, but I am saying that like having someone like that in your corner, to fine tune all of that striking and stuff like that is I'm sure incredibly beneficial. And probably helped her so much.
Without a doubt, because you're living with it.
Yeah.
Like they could be doing something, and then you're in the living room like
shadowboxing.
Let's get the mitts out.
Yeah.
And then you're like practicing something that you might have saw something on TV, like you're watching something, like you could just improvise, and just having that on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
'Cause most people, when they go home, they're just like chilling.
Yeah, they'll be like, okay, turn my brain off or whatever.
Exactly,
But for them, it's like their entirety.
It's straight,
Yeah.
Tweaked out, right? Like
Yeah.
you could tweak out on like you mesmerize yourself in like correcting. And then what if you're watching film all the time too together?
Yeah.
You're like, all right, this in training today, look what you did right here. If you get caught in this position, switch to this position, blah blah. That's just
And then I mean, there's something like obviously you can have an incredible relationship with your coach, but to have a relationship with someone that is kind of like a coach to you, but also like your husband, to have that kind of a connection, and to be so comfortable with one another, where you can be like, hey, you look like dog shit in that, and not be upset about it, and to actually have like, some sort of a closer connection with someone. I feel like that also benefits you as well. You just feel more comfortable. You can be like, hey, I wasn't feeling so good today. Like I did this, this, and this, and you can break it all down at dinner. And I feel like that can only benefit someone.
Yeah,
sure.
The one thing that stands out is that Moura, she seems to be a little more aggressive. And that's gonna be something you're gonna need to watch against Hardy. I feel like, okay, can Hardy handle that aggressiveness?
Yeah.
Can Hardy, evade it and combat, whatever tactics that she comes with? Because I feel like she's gonna initiate a lot of the action. You know.
I feel like Veronica Hardy is going to be playing the outside. She's going to be circling. She's going to be picking her shots, coming in and out. The one thing that I have seen that she has sometimes done is she will come in really fast and stay there. And that can kind of be an issue, right? Because I feel like Eduarda is going to capitalize on moments like that, where where if Veronica's going to come in with a flurry of punches, Eduarda's going to take advantage, go for a takedown, all that. But if Veronica's able to come in and out and in and out, and continue doing that for 3 rounds, then yeah, I can see a decision win for Veronica.
Yeah, if you look at the takedown statistics, Veronica Hardy's 7 for 17, so 41% takedown accuracy, and Moura is 8 for 29. Veronica Hardy way more fights, but she has way less takedown attempts.
Yeah.
But she's actually more accurate than Moura. So you might see Hardy go for a takedown just to mix it up and just to see if what she does, how she reacts to it.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I think this goes to the decision. I think it's going to be a close fight. I feel like it's going to be on the ground. It's going to be on the feet. If they do get to go to the ground, Hardy or Moura, whoever's on the bottom, is going to be able to get back up. They're going to trade on the feet, and I feel like whoever lands the more impactful shots in the striking is going to end up winning the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have Veronica for this fight for sure. I think she's got the speed advantage from what I've seen. And I think just her fight IQ, I think, is better, and I think she's going to be able to pick her shots better than Eduarda, who is probably going to be focusing a lot more on the wrestling and less on the striking.